Now, Paul Simon was not a prolific writer, and most of the material on the first 3 albums that Simon and Garfunkel put together was composed between 1961 and 1965. Once the Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme album was completed, the duo's output slowed considerably. They would only make 2 more albums before they broke up in 1970. Now, connoisseurs of Simon and Garfunkel, they would argue that their best material came later in the partnership. And who could argue when classics like Mrs. Robinson, Bridge Over Troubled Water, and The Boxer were still in their future yet? Not to mention that many people believe that Paul Simon accomplished his best material after the 2 of them broke up. And we could do a whole second service, on the last 2 to 3 years of Simon and Garfunkel, and tell the stories of what led to their most famous and commercially successful music. The stories are really quite interesting. But that's not the point today. For many popular music groups, their best material was written before they became commercial successes. Back when songwriting was based on what the composer saw and felt, and not based on a record company quota, or the need to always come up with something new just to stay in the public eye. Now, I actually believe that Simon and Garfunkel's best songs did come later in their career, but it was based mostly on a musical maturity that both of them, especially Paul Simon, experienced. A maturity that allowed both of them to experiment more with different musical types and rhythms. But this maturity did not always follow through to the lyrical subject matter of the songs, especially after the breakup. While there are still some very powerful lyrics in some of the ballad type of songs, which, by the way, are Garfunkel's favorites. And of course, for those of you who remember this, the famous Paul Simon song called Cuba C, Nixon No. I actually have never heard that song. No? One? That was actually supposed to be on the Bridge Over Troubled Water album until it was banned by Columbia Records for being too, well, a little too out there. But there was an ever-increasing number of songs with lyric subjects that were based upon personal observations of just ordinary and random events, and just plain silly love songs. Paul McCartney did not have Lost in the improving musical quality, what Simon and Garfunkel made them famous in the first place, which was poetry and fluid motion that dealt with the realities of life and often the horror and unfairness that life can bring. And this, to me especially, was even more obvious when the 2 of them had a brief reunion in 1975 and recorded the song My Little Town, which they returned to their folk poetic roots. Now, a lot of critics really can the early Simon and Garfunkel songs for their relative musical simplicity, but their lyrics were anything but. And they touched on topics such as war, racial hatred, loneliness, poverty, suicide, crime, and drug addiction. But they also touched on positive themes such as love, beauty, and just the joy of being alive in such a vibrant world. Their songs in many ways were microcosms of their own lives and lives of many around them. They understood many of society's successes and torments around them through either personal experiences or by the experience of those they knew. And they sang about them like no other folk singers had done before, and touched us in a very unique way because of it. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King once said, quote, "If I were standing at the beginning of time, with the possibility and general and panoramic view of whole human history up to now, and the Almighty said unto me, Martin Luther King, what age would you like to live in? Strange enough, I will turn to the Almighty and say, if you allow me to live for just a few years in the second half of the 20th century, I will be happy." Now that's a strange statement to make, because the world is all messed up. The nation is sick, trouble's in the land, confusion is all around, but I know somehow that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars, end quote. So as we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day tomorrow, we can also remember a 20th century folk rock duo that, in their own way, aided in the struggle for civil rights for all, as well as for world peace. While they were perceived as too intellectual for the real hippie scene, and I really doubt there were throngs of people stripping naked at their concerts, like their contemporaries Bob Dylan, John Lennon, Joan Baez, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, they touched on a nerve of society that inspired a call to action and fight injustice and search for a way to find peace and harmony. Freedom, I heard, they cursed my brother to his face. want my brother dead because he hated what was wrong. He was my brother. Tears can bring him back to me. He was my brother, and he died so his brothers could be free. And he died so his brothers could be free. Let us go forward with that inspiration in our own way to fight injustice and find peace and harmony, at least in our own lives and in the greater community. Blessed be. Our closing hymn today will be hymn number 159, This Is My Song. And because we have a postlude that we'll be doing afterwards, rather than forming a closing circle, let's just stay as you're able where we are. This is what I think we're familiar with, so I think we can just go right into it. Today's closing words are from, surprisingly, a song written by Paul Simon. From Old Friends. Time it was, and what a time it was. A time of innocence, a time of confidences, long ago it must be. I have a photograph. Preserve your memories. They're all that's left you. And before we begin our postlude, I just want to thank once again all of my fellow compatriots in music because I dragged them yet through the muck. This was my idea. So thank you, Gary, Tamara, and the two parents. I'm married to one of them.
Too fast.